Let's go to Chris Sims, Pro Football Talk Live co-host, and, of course, his podcast, Unbuttoned, former NFL Texas quarterback. Speaking of Texas, I was thinking about you today because your dad, of course, great quarterback, borderline Hall of Famer, and you being his son, you were a big recruit, you go to Texas, and now you have Arch Manning with his dad and his family lineage. And I'm wondering, now you went your first year and sat, and then Major Applewhite and you, I think, split time your sophomore year, if that sounds right. Arch Manning goes there. He just played a little bit. I don't know if Quinn Ewers is coming back to Texas, but could you see a scenario where Arch Manning transfers from Texas?
It'll be interesting. It will be. He's certainly got some competition there. It doesn't look like it's just going to be the red carpet is going to be rolled out for him, right? So hey, nothing's going to be given to you in big-time college football. You're going to have to compete and do that. I learned that, like you said. I made my first start, actually, my freshman year in the bonfire game at Texas A&M, right? That was quite the experience to be cool and a part of it. But then, sophomore year, split time with Major and had to deal with all that. And then junior year became the starter full time. But the one thing I'll say about Archie Manning, or Arch Manning, I should say, is, man, just watching him the other night, he really looked like his grandfather in a lot of ways. I thought he looked more like Archie Manning than he did Peyton or Eli, the way he ran and everything, even the way he throws the football. But we'll see where it goes there. There's I'm blanking on the other kid's name at Texas that took over for Ewers. He looks like he's got some talent and some big time upside as well.
But this is different, though. Your freshman year, you're not starting. There was no transfer portal, and if you did transfer, you had to sit out a year. Arch Manning could transfer, in the offseason and go to Ole Miss or Ohio State or any of these places now.
He shouldn't be afraid to do whatever he's got to do to put himself in the right position. That's what I would say. It's big business, right? How where you are, the support you have, playing, getting that experience, playing and playing and playing makes you a better football player. And that's what he's got to make his number one priority, which I'm sure his number one goal is to get to the NFL. That's the most important thing.
Malik Murphy.
Malik Murphy, there it is. I know. I was going to say Malik, and then I was afraid to say the last name. I wasn't sure if I was right there. I was blanking.
Where are we at this point in the NFL?
We're at a point right now in the NFL where I feel like, we've seen I think we know who the cream of the crop is. I think we know the teams that can legitimately win the Super Bowl.
Okay, how many? How many are there that can win the Super Bowl? Not go. Win.
Yeah, right. I'd say, there's 8 maybe. I'd say about 8 right now, right? That's where I kind of look at it.
All right, let's run down the teams.
Okay.
All right, so you got Kansas City.
Yep.
Philadelphia.
And the AFC, right? All right, so let's go conference. In the AFC, let's go Kansas City, Baltimore, Jacksonville, Miami. I look at those 4 teams and go, they can win the Super Bowl, right?
Buffalo's not in there.
I'm not going to put Buffalo in there. It's too much of a one-man show, right? Super Bowl's got to be about a team. It can't be one guy doing everything for the team and then the rest of the team fails him and then for some reason everybody blames him. I don't know. It's a crazy thing. That's a different topic for a different time. But then in the NFC, I kind of look at, the Eagles, the 49ers, Dallas, and I'll throw Detroit in there, even though I do think Detroit's got some cracks in the armor that I'm a little concerned about. But, I do think there's enough talent and coaching there that they could right the ship. Excuse me.
I was watching in-season Hard Knocks last night with the Miami Dolphins.
Yeah.
Tyreek Hill, and he's the feature. If Kevin Hart could play football, he would be Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill is fascinating during a game. Because there's a little bit of Ricky Henderson in him because he talks to himself the whole time. Like, I'm here, I'm here all day. Tyreek's here all day. I'm fascinated with watching him. And that speed, when you're field level speed, it is so different than when you're watching on TV or in the stands. It's like, wow, there's nobody like him. Nobody.
A lot of greats talk in the third person, right? That's what I've learned through my time in sports, and I love that, and that's what makes them great. He has fun. He's loose, right? Why? Well, because he's the best damn athlete on the football field. So he's like, this is fun. Look at me. Nobody can do what I can. And, yeah, this is where I fought with the masses a few years back when I was like, Tyreek Hill's the best receiver in football. I don't care if he doesn't run the exact most precise routes like some of the other receivers in football. He's the greatest weapon, arguably we've ever seen at the wide receiver position. And I think his speed is...
Wait, you would put him above Randy Moss?
No, I'd say he's right up there in that discussion, though.
Right.
I do think he's right there with it. Yeah, he is on a Hall of Fame pace. And, I think he's the MVP of football right now. Everything they do, it's all dictated because of him and what he brings to that offense. That's where he's special. He's an incredible person, incredible worker. That's the other thing I know about Tyreek Hill. I mean, he gets after it. He expects a lot from himself. And, yeah, he's an unbelievable football player.
I love when you hear the dialogue. I mean, really, it's just NFL films is what Hard Knocks is. They're just capturing this audio. But they don't realize how great Max Crosby is of the Raiders. Because he's in the backfield, and that's why I think sacks are overrated. Pressures, hurries, I think that's really an important stat. Max Crosby is just there. He's omnipresent. And you're even, like Tua's even acknowledging this. Tyreek Hill goes, damn, he might be the best player in football. Like you're watching this, and he never, ever stops.
No, he never stops, right? I think, like his top end – ultimate talent, I don't think is quite as good as maybe T.J. Watt or Micah Parsons or Nick Bosa or Myles Garrett, right? I'm not going to quite put him there. I think he's maybe just a notch below for me as far as pure physical gifts. Man. But I think the point you make, it's the instincts, it's the tenacity, it's the craziness, and it's the fact that those other guys I mentioned, they can press on the gas pedal 100 miles per hour, but they need to take a few plays off every now and then. Max Crosby can go 97 miles per hour the whole game and never take one play off. And I think that's what I'm amazed by, really, is the fact of how he can just red needle it all game long. Phenomenal football player, and it does feel like finally this year people have realized how damn good he is. And you're right, stats are overrated. I'm big into the F the play up stat. They need to make that in the NFL. The guy who ruined the play doesn't get credit for it. And he's a guy that ruins a lot of plays for that Raiders defense.
Chris Sims, Pro Football Talk Live co-host, his podcast called Unbuttoned. Dak Prescott's getting some MVP love, but I would caution the voters. Let's look at those stats that he's put up against some really bad teams. I want to see him in big games. I want to see him that – and Jalen Hurts is your MVP. I think the front runner right now, according to Vegas. But Dak, it feels like we want to shoehorn him in there because he's the Cowboy quarterback. And I think he's played well. But I don't know. I mean, let's see what you do against the Eagles. Let's see what you do in these big games. What happened against the Niners? They got roughed up.
Right.
Right. So if you want to win an MVP, and I still think it's open to win, then you better win some of these big games here and perform big in those games.
I totally fair. I think your assessment there. That's been the problem, I think, a little bit over the last 2 years, is just in some of the biggest moments, Dak Prescott hasn't played his best, right? And, you bring up a point, he's shoehorned in there because he's the Dallas Cowboys quarterback. Well, he also gets a lot of crap because he's the Dallas Cowboy quarterback too. So I think you got to, take that into account. But he's playing phenomenal football. He is. And I think, more than what I argued early in the year a little bit in his defense, where I know it wasn't perfect, but like I did I do my Unbuttoned podcast on Wednesdays. They call it the What the F Happened podcast, right? Because I deep dive into film and I watch it. And I watched that 49ers game back early in the year. And what I would tell a lot of people is if you and, me and Todd Fritz and we all sat down and we watched the film together, you'd go, well, damn, really, there wasn't one person open that whole damn game. And the offense attack couldn't have been more bland and simple, let alone that time of the year, they were the shortest passing team in football. To me, the biggest difference is they've opened the field up a little bit. And he is a great down the field thrower, and he doesn't blink in under pressure or with the pocket collapsing. That's when he's at his best. But I think your point that you make is real. The final finishing touches is he's got to play good against some of the elite teams in football and show us he can pull off some wins against them. And I think then he becomes a real big-time legit MVP contender.
People seem to be mixed on Justin Fields of what the Bears do moving forward. And we've had analysts who've said, hey, I would stay with him. I would bypass Caleb Williams or Drake May, maybe trade that first pick that you're going to get from Carolina. But I think you're going to get more expensive. The decision's more expensive with Justin Fields because you're going to eventually have to pick up that fifth-year option. Then you have to start to pay him. And then now you've missed out on this whole rookie contract situation. If you're running the Bears, have you seen enough of Justin Fields? And if you have, are you staying with him or are you moving on?
It's a really tough decision. It is because
but you got to make the decision right now.
Yeah,
You're on the clock with the number one pick. You're on the clock right now.
And I was one before the year to say, like, you stick with Justin Fields and see what you can work with here because he's got some elite traits about him that are special, right? His running, he's the best running quarterback in football. We know that. If you put me on the clock, and I don't like saying this, yes, I'd probably move on with Justin Fields. I would.
Okay.
I don't think they're egregiously wrong if they stick with him. I don't. But the other night, in that game itself was troubling enough. That was.
But are you moving on to Caleb Williams or Drake May?
One of those two. I'm going to move. The Bears, to me, the Bears are a team that I would say watch out for in the future, right? I don't know if they're going to keep Matt Eberflus or what, but you saw that game on Monday night. They got a big overpowering offensive line. They got a good tight end. They got Mooney and DJ Moore at receiver. They got good running backs. They got some
Why
young
can't they
talent on
score
defense.
Touchdowns?
I think a little bit early in the year was Fields' issues. Then he kind of hit a groove.
I'm talking about Monday night.
Because of the throwing. Plain and simple. It's all there is to it. How many replays did you see the other night where he was under pressure or whatever, and you're seeing this sky cam view, and you're going, damn, there's somebody open right down the middle.
Okay,
like,
but is that going to change?
Here.
You want to stay with the guy who's been doing this for 3 years?
I don't, I would definitely tell you if I stayed with him, I definitely wouldn't pick up the fifth-year option. Like, it's okay not to pick up a fifth-year option. These are big boys. They're making lots of money. It's okay to say we're going to evaluate you one more year and see where it goes like the Giants did to Daniel Jones. I think it's the proper thing to do there. So if that's what they want to do. But if you made me choose right now, no, I would probably move on to go to one of the two guys, TV scouting as far as Caleb Williams or Drake May. I'd probably go on to one of those two guys, yes.
All right. One last question here. If C.J. Stroud was in Carolina and Bryce Young was in Houston, finish that sentence.
It would look a lot different. Carolina would be better, and Houston wouldn't be as good. So that's plain and simple. C.J. Stroud, Dan, there's a reason, and I know I've been wrong other years, right? I've been right more than I've been wrong, though. And I had C.J. Stroud in tier 1 by himself.
No, I know that.
I
know.
His ability to throw, and everybody is seeing it now, and move in the pocket, 6th sense type of moves. And the way he played last week, they didn't run the ball. People weren't open, and he just carried the freaking team like a superstar. He is special, right? Bryce Young needs a certain formula around him. They need to spread the field. They need weapons. It needs to be more like the Tua kind of version.
He needs Alabama. He needs Alabama.
That's a little bit, for lack of a better way to say it. Yes, where C.J. Stroud can run any offense, and it doesn't matter. Now they're better in Houston than they are in Carolina. I understand that. But I do think, you switch teams, things will look a little different. Bryce Young, as slick as he is and all that, I like a lot, right? But his arm, it's average for the NFL. And then the other thing is, like we talked about during the draft time, as quick as his releases and the decisions are, he loses time on the back end of plays because he can't stand in the pocket and make throws with people bearing down on him or about to hit him. He's a lot of ducking and chucking that way because he's got to save himself to where plays where I go, ooh, if he was C.J. Stroud, he would have just stand in there and take a shot, and he'd hit the 20-yard out route. Bryce Young is not afforded that luxury because when he gets hit, he gets ragdolled. And he's got to protect himself that way, and that's always what was scary to me about him coming out in the draft.
And you were big on Lamar Jackson when nobody else was.
I I've had my moments.
You did
I've had,
love Kellen.
Lamar.
You love Kellen Mond, though.
Listen. I'll go through it. I had Mahomes and Josh Allen and Lamar, right, and C.J. Stroud, and of course, yes, I had Zach Wilson, and I did Matt Corral one year. So I've taken some, slaps in the face.
I
too.
would stay with the Matt Corral. That might still happen there.
I don't know if it's going to happen. I don't think it's going to. I think I'm done with that one. And I'm done with Zach Wilson, I think, too.
Good to visit with you as always. Thank you, Chris.
Always.
Chris Sims. Always enjoy talking to him. His podcast is called Unbuttoned. You can see him on Football Night in America. Our play of the day is up next, right after this.